All right, let's talk USC Trojans football here for a little bit. Look, obviously, back-to-back defeats. Vibe's not great in USC right now, but this is a team. Lincoln Riley is doing everything he can to keep an eye both on this season and the future. And to that end, there's actually some good news for the Trojans. We're going to get a deep dive into it in just a second. I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, like I said, back-to-back defeats, including a heartbreaker against Penn State. Gosh, that was a really tough one to swallow. But this is a Trojans club, a program that I think overall, adjusting to the Big Ten, is still setting themselves up for the long term. We knew this was going to be kind of a transition year, new quarterback, new conference, a lot of changes going on. There was a bit of a concern that recruiting would dip off going through this transition, some early defeats. That doesn't appear to be the case, however. That's the great news for the USC Trojans. They actually pulled in two really impressive moves this weekend despite the defeat. Let's pull up the report courtesy of 24/7 Sports. USC's narrow 33-30 loss to then number 4 Penn State, which yielded the Trojans not one, but two commitments of the big visitor weekend. 4-star 2026 Chicago defensive lineman Braden Jones and 3-star 2025 Greensboro defensive back Steve Miller, who flipped from Mississippi State. Jones is rated a 4-star prospect in the 24/7 Sports rankings as the number 107 overall prospect and the number 10 defensive lineman. Miller is ranked as the nation's number 40 safety by 24/7 Sports and the nation's number 53 player overall. It's kind of an interesting ranking there between safety and overall. I don't know if that's 100% correct, but regardless, these are two really good players right here that USC has managed to secure the commitment, including flipping a guy out of SEC country. And that's what we're seeing here, getting a Chicago, Illinois kid, Big Ten country, SEC country pickup as well. Despite their record being really disappointing, this USC team is doing a good job rebuilding their talent pool, especially on defense where they need the help. Mize, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but first, USC fans, in the comment section below. Look, it's obviously been a tough season. These back-to-back defeats have been really weighing down on you. But halfway through this campaign, give me a bright spot. Give me something positive. Who's one player that has exceeded your expectations that you think could be a key contributor to this team going forward as they look to try and turn the season around and look towards the future? Give us the one guy you think will be a cornerstone and put him in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on this latest news out of USC?
Yeah, Nick, I think there are a couple bright spots for USC going forward. Obviously, we'll talk about the recruiting in a second, but I think the second half of the schedule is markedly easier than the first half. The first half was tough. Number 4, number 18, number 13 LSU. This really tough schedule going on the first part of the season. And I think they were all really tough losses, meaning they played good. USC had a chance to win all of them one-score games. One score behind Minnesota, a field goal behind Penn State, a field goal to tie Michigan. They're all really, really close games. So I think there is something to work with. And I love that Southern Cal is coming out and building where, like you said, they need to on the defense. These really close games, if they can get that defense up to snuff, back to where it needs to be, we know Lincoln Riley, 9 times out of 10, he's going to get the offense where it needs to be. The defense, they just need a little bit more help. If they can hold off some of these teams, not allow people to score, close to 30 points on them. Hard to win a game when people are scoring 30 points on you. I think this is where they need to build and grow, and it shows they have a lot of promise there, and I think these recruits are seeing it because they're able to get such great recruits as Braden Jones is. He's really top 10 defensive lineman in the country. I think that's really great for them as well. And then Miller at safety position as well, doing some really good things in the recruiting department. Also, they're getting these guys from all over the country. Obviously, Southern Cal on the West Coast, Midwestern guy in Braden Jones. Then you get a Southeastern guy in Steve Miller as well. They're doing some really good stuff in the recruiting game. So I like where they're recruiting. I like where they're recruiting positionally. I like where they're recruiting location, geography-wise, but I also like how they're recruiting as well. Getting 2 guys off of a loss is a really impressive move. I think this shows this program's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think your last comment there is really important. I think we talk about all the time on this channel how programs, they have big games, especially at home. They get a big win, and then we see the recruits commit, and we see some guys flip. The fact that we're seeing the opposite here, where USC has just a heartbreaking, disappointing defeat, and they still get some guys to secure the commitment there, I think that's a good sign that Lincoln Riley and his recruiting chops and his entire staff there, when it comes to recruiting, can get the job done. Because I know people want to talk about X's and O's, and I know people want to talk about, home and away matchups, weather, all this kind of things, and I understand it's important. But the reality is, in college football and NFL and high school football, little league, the truth, undeniable truth is the better team with better players wins, right? 99% of the time. If you got better players, you're going to win most of the time. If you don't have better players, you're going to lose. And right now, USC, especially defensively, they don't have enough of the better players they need to be a top flight contender in the new Big Ten, in the college football landscape at large. This is a program. We talked about it a couple of years ago. We talked about it last season. We're talking about it now. It's going to be a multi-year just process to slowly change the culture on defense, and more importantly, get a cadre of talented players with two deep quality defensive players, first and second string across the board. We know the quarterback situation, the offense, it's had its moments. Sometimes it's been a little shaky, but overall it's been okay. I think going forward, we know Lincoln Riley will get the offense figured out, whether it's this year or next, depending how he needs to retool things. Again, changing conference is always a new dynamic. It's always tough. But going forward, the defense is where the Trojans will be winning or losing. It's going to take time. We all hoped and expected going into this year it would be a little bit better. Frankly, it hasn't been, but it's a talent issue, folks. It's a personnel issue. You just frankly need better players. They were able to cover up some of those flaws when they were still in the old Pac-12. And the Big Ten, it's a little harder because they actually play defense, so USC is not going to put up 50 every game. The reality is they need an upgraded talent on the defensive side of the ball, and getting these two commitments, these two kids to commit to the Trojans, I think is the first of many steps they're going to need going forward to just up the talent there on defense.